Hello. I don't know why I just did that with my hands, like I'm a jack in the box or something. Hello. Anyway, how are you doing? I thought I would do a book tag today because it's been a while since I've done a book tag, and this is a book tag I enjoyed doing last year. It was created by Ariel Bissett. She made a new version of it earlier this year in September, and I watched that, and then I was reminded about it again recently when I saw the lovely booktuber Roz from Scally Dandelion about the books. She answered the questions as well, and it was great listening to her answers, and it reminded me that I want to do this tag again because I think it's a good way of sort of checking in with your reading goals for the year and how things are going. I mean, it's kind of crazy that we're talking about the end of the year, isn't it? I don't know where 2021 went, but yeah, we're already getting to that point towards the end of the year, and these are 6 simple questions to sort of check in with that, and yeah, it's just fun to answer. So if you want to do this tag as well, if you want to make a video of it, or if you want to answer the questions in the comments below, I'd love to hear your answers. I'll put in the description below all of the questions, so if you want to do the tag yourself, that would be great. So I'm just going to dive into it and we'll see how we go. So starting off with question 1, are there any books you started this year you need to finish? Yeah, there are, and there inevitably are. There's probably a whole bunch of books, some of which I can't remember at the moment, and there might be a reason why I stopped reading them, because I just might not have been getting along with them, and so moved on to something else. And I think it's sort of fine to leave books behind, but there are some books that I still really want to go back to and finish reading. As I mentioned before, there's Framley, Parsonage by Anthony Trollope, which I've started a few times, and I keep stopping and I just restarted again recently, so hopefully I'll stick with it this time. This is part of his Barsetshire series. Roz was talking about this in her video because she's just been reading Dr. Thorne for Victober. I read that earlier this year and loved that novel, and have loved reading all of Anthony Trollope's novels that I've read so far. And so yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing this. It's about a young man who takes over a parsonage in a local village, and is that's bequeathed on him by a woman that has sort of status, but she sort of feels like she can still control him, but then he wants to do other things, and yeah, so it's about the tension of that and his family life. I also started reading King of Rabbits a while ago by Karla Neblett, and this is the story about a boy from a mixed race family out in rural England, and his early life, and yeah, his experiences. And I started reading this and was really enjoying it, but I just got distracted, and so it's a book I want to go back to, and has nice autumnal colors, so it's a good time of year to be going back to it. I also have a few books of short stories that which I don't think, like, short stories that you have to have finished all the stories to say you read the book. I mean, I've read a lot of these short stories, and still been getting around to them, and part of the reason why I haven't read all of them yet is because often when I read short stories, as I often comment, is when I read them aloud to my partner, or my partner reads them aloud to me, and it's a lovely joint thing to do together. And so we've been reading a number of these short stories, some by John Cheever, some by Elizabeth Bowen, who I'd never read before, but her writing is wonderful. She was an Irish writer of the early 20th century, though she lived quite late, I think up until the 1970s, and yeah, her style is so rich and evocative, and the way she gets at the psychology of her characters and sometimes their little petty resentments against each other is so delicious. And also I can't believe I failed to mention this when I did my September wrap-up, because I went to a Spanish island with one of the Canary Islands with my partner in September, and we read a lot of these short stories aloud to each other from this wonderful, beautiful-looking collection of the Penguin Book of Spanish Short Stories. And this spans short stories in Spain for a long period of time. It was edited and put together by Margaret Jewel Costa. And so we've been ticking off which stories we've read to each other. We've been pretty much going in order, and most of the stories are sort of in a chronological order from when the writers were creating their works and writing. And so it's really interesting following the development of these stories in line with the development of the country itself. And so, when it gets to the time of the Spanish Civil War, that is obviously influencing the fiction a lot as it goes along. And so, you can see more tick marks there. And and I just love reading through these anthologies because it's a wonderful way to introduce yourself to some authors you might not have read before, and then you get a sense of their style and subject matter that they write about, and if you connect with that, then you can go and explore their other works. And so it's a kind of taster session of that. And so there are some writers that I really want to read more of, like Merce Derrida, whose style is so unique, and I'd quite like to read some more of her writing, but also want to finish all of the stories in this collection because it's been really wonderful going through it. Okay, question 2 is, do you have an autumnal book to transition into the end of the year? And well, I made a whole TBR video about autumnal reads. I've quite a few that I already talked about. But one that I do especially want to get to, and which I talked about in that video, and a lot of people who had read it really recommended it highly, is this nonfiction book called Entangled Life by Merlin Sheldrake, and all about having fun with fungi, but no, not really. But just all about the hidden lives of mushrooms, and how these fungi can take some surprising different forms, and how it's not just the kind of traditional shape that we're like accustomed to, but it takes all different forms and has all different interactions with our life, and with sort of the natural world, and connecting the natural world and the cycle of the seasons. And so I naturally think of this around is like an autumnal book because of the leaves falling off the trees, and like life changing and going through a change like this. And that is sort of what the job of mushrooms or at least part of the job. Anyway, going on to question 3, is there a new release you're still waiting for? And there is one, which is a collection of essays by the author Suri Hustvedt called Mothers, Fathers and Others. And this is described as a blend of family memoir and feminist philosophy, and that sort of sounds like my perfect book. And I have loved reading Suri Hustvedt's fiction. I've read a number of her novels and some of her nonfiction, and she is such a really compelling thinker, and gives an interesting new angle on a number of topics, and I really appreciate her point of view. And so I'm really looking forward to a new collection of essays by her, and that's being published around the beginning of December, which I think our last collection of essays was also published in December. I don't know why they've decided very little actually gets published in December, but for some reason her publishers have decided like December is the month for Suri Hustvedt. So question 4 is, what are 3 books you want to read before the end of the year? Well, there's many more than 3 books, but I sort of went through my shelves and just picked out 3 that I have really been wanting to get to. One is called What Willow Says by Lynn Buckle, and I partly want to read this because I know Sean the Book Maniac was a big fan of it. It's a book of quite a short book of Irish fiction short novella about a grandmother and her deaf granddaughter, and how they tried to create a new language between each other by going out into nature. And at least I think that's what it's about. But it sounds like a wonderful story, and I love reading new Irish fiction. And so yeah, this is one I really want to get to. Also, recently I'd read Bernardine Evaristo's memoir Manifesto, and in it she mentions again how she curated this series of books earlier this year called Black Britain Writing Back. And I read one book from that collection called Bernard and the Cloth Monkey, which I thought was really great, and I've been wanting to read more from that series. So another book in the series I want to read is Without Prejudice by Nicola Williams. This is about a young woman of Caribbean origin who becomes a barrister, and it's following her story and the story of a particular case, and it's described as like a literary thriller. And also it was announced recently that this is going to be made into a television series eventually. And so I always like to read the novel before reading the film or the TV series, and then you can be one of those people that said, oh yes, I read this novel ages ago and now I can compare the text with the film. And because that's how literary English people talk. It's really not. I don't know. Anyway, so this is a book I do want to get to. And I also want to read this memoir called Reflections of My Non-Existence by Rebecca Solnit. So she talks about her life in this and how she moved to San Francisco in the early 80s, and and then said about her writing life and really fashioning her own particular voice and what she wants to say in her essays, in her nonfiction. And she's a writer I've never read before, but I think this will be a great introduction sort of into her style and point of view, and to learn more about her, and then I can go read more of her writing. So that's one I want to get to as well as those other two. And then the next question is there a book you think could still shock you and become your favorite book of the year? And yeah, I think there probably is one, which I received just recently, and it's sort of tricky because it's a novel which hasn't actually been published in the UK yet. So I was sent this advanced copy of it, but it was published in the US a little while ago, and to much success. Is an Oprah's Book Club choice, and and has been selling a lot, and people have been talking about it. Just recently, Matthew Sharapa made a video talking about it as one of his new favorite novels, and so yeah, I'm sure it could become one of mine as well. And it is The Love Songs of W.E.B. Du Bois by Honoré Fanon Jeffers. And this is a novel that I just think is going to be much talked about, but it's sort of tricky because it's going to be published here in January, but already so many people are talking about it that it's one I want to get to. And so I might will hopefully get to reading this before the end of the year, though it's quite a big book. It's almost 800 pages long, but one that I think will really be worth the time, and that I just sort of want to get to, and I've heard so many good things about. So the final question is, have you already started making reading plans for the next year? And because I'm lucky enough to be sent a lot of advance copies of books from publishers like this, I'm already getting excited and thinking about books that are going to be published next year, and looking at a number of them on my shelves already. And but it's getting to that panic stage of the year, because there are still so many books that were published this year that I haven't got to yet, and so I feel sort of like knocked between, like there are these like cymbals crashing either side of my head saying read me, and of books that were published this year and books that are going to be published next year that I want to get to. And but I'm trying to remain cool and calm about it and just reading one thing at a time. So, saying all of that, I mean, I know next year Douglas Stewart is going to have a new novel out. I'm really looking forward to reading that. There's a number of books that were of works of translation that I've been wanting to read that I think might be listed for the International Booker Prize last year. There's a number of books written by female novelists that I want to get to reading because they might be listed for the Women's Prize next year. So yeah, I'm such a prize geek. I'm already thinking about those things. And just to give you a little taster, one very exciting book I got in a post just recently that's going to be published in January is To Paradise by Hanya Yanagihara. Yeah, how exciting is this? And this is another very long book that will be coming out soon. Yeah, just over 700 pages long, and yeah, so excited to get to it. I mean, yeah, she doesn't write short books, does she? But I've already heard really great things about this, so it's so exciting. So much to look forward to, but so much that I want to finish reading before next year as well. So those are all my answers. Those are all the books I want to talk about. Let me know, like I said, in the comments below, your answers to these questions. I'd really be keen to hear them, and what you still want to read before the end of the year, and what you're looking forward to, and all of that good stuff. There's so much good reading to come. I will speak to you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.